everyone. Today I have with me author Katherine Arden. And Katherine wrote The Bear and the Nightingale. And I want everybody to see how beautiful this cover is. It is beautiful. I love it, Katherine.
I do too. Thank you. It is quite gorgeous.
I get really happy about covers. Everybody that listens to me knows that. I get really, really happy about covers. I don't know why. And people say, oh, you shouldn't get so happy about it. But I do. I really like a good cover, you know?
I think all book lovers love a good cover. You know, it makes the insides better.
I don't know. And plus it's on your bookshelf. And look at that. Look at how beautiful that is.
I know, it's so shiny and nice. I love the font. We went through several fonts, and that's a great font they ended up with.
Yeah, and there's something about the feel of the cover that's different, too. Is it a matte feel or something?
I mean, I always call it that kind of paper that feels like soap.
Yes, yes.
But,
yes, exactly.
But it's a matte finish. I think it's getting more common with hardcovers, but I felt it on several books. Well, I do like it. It's nice and grippy, but it also feels like soap on your hands.
Yeah, it's really soft, you know?
Yeah.
And I love hardcovers, and given the choice, I always buy a hardcover. I mean, nowadays, a lot of people are just going right to paperback or right to Kindle and paperback. But I'm so happy that you went hardcover, because I love hardcovers. You know?
Well, I mean, hardcovers are a fantastic thing to collect and, keep in your home. And, that one has, the soft pages I really enjoy, and it's a nice... It's a nice piece of...
when you put it in your bookshelf, look at that. Look how beautiful that is.
Then it goes.
Anyway, let's introduce everybody to you. You have had a crazy life. I started writing it, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm so getting her to say this, because I could not memorize where she's lived and how long she's lived. And, you are a world traveler if I've ever heard of one, okay?
There's much bigger travelers out there, but I do enjoy traveling.
Well, for your age, because I can tell you're young, you definitely have gotten to, travel a lot more than I have, and, a lot more than some people have. But you started in Texas, correct?
I did. I was born in Austin, Texas. Let's see, I did a year abroad in France when I was 16. Finished high school in Houston, Texas, and then spent a year studying in Moscow at the Pushkin Institute. Then I matriculated at Middlebury College in Vermont. While I was in college, I studied abroad in Paris and in Moscow for my degree. Graduated, moved to Hawaii, worked in Hawaii for a few years, moved back to France to teach in the Alps, teach English. And then, let's see, finished in the Alps, moved back to Hawaii, got a book deal in there, and then went traveling again. Now I sort of live in Vermont, but I like to do traveling stints. Yes, that is. That's me.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's kind of it. It seems I spent a lot of time in France, a good bit of time in Russia, shorter stays in other countries. I don't think Hawaii quite qualifies as traveling abroad, although it is different from much of America in some ways.
Yes.
And yeah, I enjoy it. I think it really helps with writing novels to have new experiences and to keep your mind stimulated. Mm-hmm. I think it really is helpful.
Yeah, well, I have a son and a daughter who live in Texas right now. They live in Dallas. So
fantastic.
I spent a lot of time. I have grandchildren there. I spent a lot of time in Dallas, and I love Texas. But I can't hear that you're from Texas. Somehow in your travels, you got rid of your Texas accent.
I don't think it was ever very thick. And then I went to college in New England and studied abroad a lot, and I think definitely it just couldn't last.
Not when you're speaking other languages, probably, too,
That's true. I would say the biggest influence was just going to school in Vermont where nobody draws, of course. It's a very sort of New England, small liberal arts college experience.
Mm-hmm. Which is a lot different than Texas. But I can even hear it in my grandchildren when they talk. And they're around 4. And when they talk, I'm like, oh my gosh, you can so tell they're from Texas.
Yeah, it's a real accent. No, I love Texas accents. It makes me happy to go home. I feel like I have a little more of an accent when I go home.
Yeah. I
see
mean,
my
I'm
parents.
from Pennsylvania. I'm calling you from Pennsylvania, and I can tell if I'm around, if I'm not here for a while, and then I come back, I can hear it in other people, and then I can hear myself pick it up. So it's like it's
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah, it's funny how voices and like language works.
Right. So did you always know you wanted to be a writer?
Not in the slightest. It was pretty late that I decided I wanted to be a writer. I really enjoyed telling and writing stories, I read a lot of books as a kid, but it was always more on the level of like entertaining myself
Mm-hmm.
rather than thinking about like doing it as a job.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote part of a novel in high school that was about the quality you might expect and from high school. And but when I got to college, I was pretty serious into foreign languages. I was a French and Russian major, and I had pretty firm plans to join the foreign service or work in international business somehow,
Mm-hmm.
or be an interpreter. That's kind of where I was in my head. But I finished college. I felt kind of burnt out by working really hard and all those years of like being in Vermont, being in Moscow. I was tired of the cold too at that point, so I decided to move to Hawaii to get away from the cold. And it was gonna be temporary. It was gonna be I don't know, a couple of months. I got a job woofing on a farm, picking coffee and macadamia nuts.
That's crazy.
And it was just to like find myself. And I'm not sure if my parents were entirely excited about my life choice, but they were nice about me. So I lived in a tent in Hawaii picking coffee. Um, I like hitchhiked everywhere.
Wow.
I did swimming. My tan was outstanding. You couldn't tell now, but at one point it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
That's
I
one good thing about Hawaii. You can get a good tan.
Oh my gosh, right? And so I was there, and I got a little bored just picking coffee, so I decided to sort of revisit my love of storytelling and write a book to entertain myself. Um, and I got to writing, and I got more and more into it, and I really enjoyed the process. I surprised myself a bit how much I enjoyed it. And about 3 months in, I was like, well, what if I were to just finish this and publish it and be an author? And it was all like kind of a revelation at that time. And nobody had told me that it's hard to be an author or that it's a time consuming process to publish books for money. So I was very innocent and very gung ho. And so I left my tent in Hawaii. I ended up in a yurt in Hawaii instead. So it's kind of an upgrade housing wise.
That's funny.
I kept writing. I did odd jobs. I guided horse tours for a little while. I did some grant writing. I made crepes in a crepe stand in the jungle. And I kind of kept writing there in the Nightingale. And eventually finished it. By that point, I had left Hawaii. I was teaching in the Alps. And ended up selling it. I sold 3 books.
Wow.
And it's funny because once I got back from the Alps, I had not yet sold Bear and the Nightingale. It was 3 years into this long process, right? And at that point, I was a little bit less innocent. I was like, oh, it's hard. People tell you no. Like, there's this thing called real life.
This
So
is
I got a job.
publishers. You know?
Well, I got a job doing marketing for a real estate company in Hawaii when I got back from the Alps. I was like, I'm going to be serious. I'm going to work at a real job and none of this messing around with fiction. So I got my real estate license actually in the same week as I got my license. I got my book deal,
Wow.
which is kind of a funny coincidence, but that was sort of the end of my real estate ambitions.
You proved that you could get your real estate license if you wanted
I
to.
mean, the thing is, I've never been one of those people who was like, I must be an author or die. Like, I would always want to write stories, but if I couldn't make a living as an author, I would be an interpreter. I would have joined the foreign service. Like, I mean, it's great to like starve for your art when you're 22.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start like staring down 30 or 40, or you want to have a house or have a car, have kids, like, I mean, I think it's important to be flexibly minded. But it worked out. It's worked out so far.
It's worked out incredible. I mean, this is the first one that got published, or no?
Yes, that is the first thing that is the first thing I ever wrote.
That's what I thought. I was like, I got confused, but I was like, I thought so when I was reading. This is the first thing. I mean, do you understand how long it takes authors? Like, they could write 6 books and they're still working on getting their publisher. And that's what was so amazing about this book to me. And I read books every single day. I'm a hardcore reader. And I couldn't tell that was your first book. Okay, there's no, like I said, I was still like confused because usually you can tell. Usually you can. But your storytelling is amazing. And I don't know if this story was just like in your heart and just like it had to come out and, you know, you had to get it down on page. That's what it feels like when I'm reading it. But I'm not sure if that's exactly how you were feeling when you were writing it.
I mean, at least in my case, definitely stories don't like spring fully formed like Athena out of my forehead.
Yeah.
It's a process. Like when I first started, I had the idea for one scene. I had the idea for a scene with the family sitting around the oven telling a story, which is of course the scene that opened the novel. Mm-hmm. It's also the only scene in the entire book that didn't undergo massive changes in the course of writing and rewriting. Nice. But the rest of it was just like this kind of sort of process of adding scenes, adding characters, adding ideas, rewriting and like kind of building. It's like sculpting. You know, you have a big block of ideas. You gotta like peel them away. But it definitely has never been a straightforward like process. It's a lot of like backtracking and going forward and skipping around and
yeah, so you weren't one of those authors that totally outlines a book and then you just go in and fill in, you know, the pieces.
That would be great. I'm always a little bit jealous of like Brandon Sanderson because he has that ability to like outline his book and then write his book.
Right.
And it's such a gift. And I don't have that gift. I'm more of like I'm going to do this or that. Actually, I heard Neil Gaiman talking one time and he said there's 2 kinds of writers. There's gardeners and architects.
Oh.
And apparently gardeners, they like wander through the bushes and like find a pretty flower and like, you know, give it some air and like add a new flower and kind of just, you know, make a garden. And architects like plan their house like bit by bit and then build the house like to their plan. So
right.
I mean, it's just different way people's brains work, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I have to say the people I interview, it's half of them outline like crazy and the other half just sit down and write and then rewrite and then, you know, whatever they have to do.
An issue with like the writing, I'm going to plug in my computer, so forgive my screen. Okay. An issue with the rewriting is that you end up going down dead ends often. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you have to like scrap a bunch of text to start over.
Right. Right, you could write yourself into a corner where you're like, I don't know where this is going, but, you know.
I mean, you can always go somewhere. So the great thing about fiction is, like, anything could happen.
That's right.
Literally anything could happen. So it's hard to, like, get into a dead end because, like, you could have aliens land. Like, anything could happen.
Right, exactly.
I mean, whether it should happen is a question, but anything can happen.
Right. I was trying when I was reading it, I was looking through it this morning, and I was like, did you ever say, like, what time period this takes place?
Not directly, sorry.
That's okay. But that is then I'm glad you said that, because as a reader, you're like, oh, I hope I didn't miss that somewhere in the book, you know? Like, I was supposed to pick it up that it was a specific time period.
If you're, like, decide that you felt the need to Google, you could kind of judge by who was Grand Prince of Moscow at the time, because those were historical characters.
Okay.
So since it was Ivan the Fair on the throne with his son Dmitri, about 6 or 7 years old, you could judge it was like the last year or two of Ivan the Fair's reign before his death.
Which was?
To be in the 1350s.
Okay. For all of us who don't know Russian
But,
history.
no, I didn't, like, the thing is, like, it wasn't an era, I'm trying to, like, stay in the medieval Russian, like, mode, and it wasn't an era of dates. Like, I tried to avoid using words like month, or day, or hour, or minute. Because, or year. Because, I mean, sometimes, like, of course you have to use it anyway, but it wasn't a frame of reference that would have made sense for that time period.
Right. And that gave it such a romantic feel. Like, first of all, when I read anything, and I don't read a lot of fiction that has Russian, that's why this is so unique, is like even the names and the places, and they're so exotic, and they're so, for somebody who's never been there, like I'm like, oh my gosh, it sounds so beautiful, and even the main character's name, which I'm going to let you say because you can say it way better. Like in my head, I'm like, these names are probably way different than what they were supposed to be.
I actually, if you listen to the audiobook, it's a very, very good.
Oh, right.
Also, and Kathleen Gaddy does a great job pronouncing, but the main character is Vasilisa Petrovna.
See what I'm talking about?
And I mean, I've always loved the name Vasilisa.
That is so pretty. I love that name now. I never heard of it before. So I do love that. I love Russian names like Anastasia. I always love.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the scourges of Russian literature for American students is that every character will have like 6-7 nicknames based on who's talking to them.
Right. That is another thing I was really picking up on. By the end, I knew the nicknames. Like, because I was like, wait, but you do such a good job of real, like when you're describing them, that you know who you're talking about. So even if it's a nickname, I did understand who it was, but then it was like putting them back. I was like, oh, okay. Is it almost like depending on who's talking to them in Russian? Like,
it's like a degree of familiarity.
A degree of familiarity.
So
right.
like if your grandma's talking to you, she'll be much more like adorable and like diminutive in your nickname than like your friend would be.
Okay.
So it indicates like a degree of infection, like the closeness of your relationship, the age of the person. Like little babies will get much more adorable nicknames than big, huge men will. But it's very it can seem complicated. I don't think it is. Like the names are very related, right. But to a reader who's not listening to the words, it can seem a little arbitrary. Who's calling who what? I tried to keep a lid on it a little bit in my writing. I didn't go like full nickname. If you read like Anna Karenina, you will see Tolstoy going full nickname.
Yes.
Which I think definitely has caused Anglophone readers some headaches in history.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do like how you wove it in, because I did think that was very true to how it is. I understood that it was a very truthful, and the nicknames aren't like so far from the name, really. I
mean, you have to do it to a certain extent. Like Vasilisa's family would never call her Vasilisa. Right. It just wouldn't happen. Like it'd be weird. It'd be weirdly formal.
It would be really formal. And so for most of the book, they call her Vas.
Vasya.
Yeah.
Vasya. Yeah. Vasya was tough for me because, like, in general, Vasya is a masculine nickname. It's short for Vasily. So to a certain extent, in your head, when you hear, at least when I hear Vasya, I think of like a large Siberian man. Wow. But it can apply to a girl, Vasilisa. It's just Vasilisa is very rare as a name now. The masculine form, Vasily, is common, but Vasilisa is very uncommon, and so it's fallen out of favor as a feminine nickname. But I kind of went through my head of all the possible like nicknames of Vasilisa, and the other ones were so adorable, like Vaska or Vasa or Susha, and they were just too precious for the main character I wanted to write.
I like that though. I like some of those. Russian names are so beautiful.
They're very beautiful, but I felt they're just so soft and gentle. For a character that I felt wasn't super soft or gentle, and I decided to just go with a tomboyish nickname, and hope I forgave me.
So, what was it like in Russia? Like you knew how to speak Russian before you got there, right? You'd studied Russian.
Nope.
Didn't? Oh.
I learned the alphabet before I left, so I had some Cyrillic, but everything else I learned kind of in the jump in the water and pray you swim approach, which is very effective. It's occasionally stressful. I had a great time in Russia. When you're 19, I mean, the world is so awesome. You're just so excited about everything and open to new experiences. And I lived with Russians who were friends of friends, and I went to classes with kids from all over the world. Like the point of the Pushkin Institute is to get kids, at least the part where I was, is to get students up to a point where they can qualify for the first year of university in Russia with Russians. So it's like a crash course in Russian, essentially, established for like teaching foreigners enough Russian so they can matriculate at university in Russia. And so we had students from South America, from Asia, from Europe, from everywhere. We had North Koreans, for heaven's sake, like
Wow.
the kids whose parents worked in the embassy. We just had students from all over, and like our class. I remember my first class, my first day. We had a German dictionary, a Portuguese dictionary, a Thai dictionary, my English dictionary. We just had like, and so this kind of group of people. We all spoke Russian together because it was like a lingua franca, and just kind of learned together, and it was just a fascinating experience.
Oh my gosh! And can you imagine, like, so you guys are all learning Russian, and then Russian becomes your common language? Like, that's
Well, it
crazy.
had to be like not everyone spoke English.
Right?
I mean,
Isn't that crazy?
not everyone spoke any other common language, but of course, like you're learning Russian in Russian, and so like the words for noun and verb and whatever you have to learn as well. So it was very much a like jump in and hope you swim kind of approach. But again, it works, and
Well, when
I
you
think
say it, it's beautiful. So that's why I wanted to hear you say it. I was like, because
oh,
I would butcher the Russian language, and it wouldn't be pretty. So, so tell everybody where you got the title from.
well, I went through many titles in my head. I wanted a fairy tale feel title.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's what I
and
think of when I got it. I was like, it sounds like a fairy tale.
yeah, sort of like it was like a fable, and I wanted to vaguely refer to Russia without having to be super obvious, and so I felt like, and there's a bear in the book, so the bear's a natural choice,
Right.
and I wanted the Nightingale. I wanted to create a sense of opposition, like two forces opposing, and like a bear and nightingale are very opposite things, and I think it speaks to a lot of the other oppositions at work in the novel.
Yes.
I mean, order and chaos, life and death, like all these different things that are kind of all in conflict. And of course, there's an actual nightingale as well
Right.
in the book, and that's a character that's important in later books. So I felt justified in kind of like putting it in the title here.
Mm-hmm.
And also, a nightingale symbolically symbolizes the connection between love and death, which I find fascinating, and also I find relevant to this book, where a theme of sacrifice is doubled both beginning and the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I mean, even though there is a bear, like when I saw the bear, I automatically, when I turn the flap and you see it's set in Russia, it's like, of course, that's kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
It's like a symbol. So, okay, so you said, is there more? Like, are you going to continue on with this as a series?
Yeah. The second book is done. They sent me galleys last week, although
nice.
I'm not in the States right now, so I can't receive them, but they sent them to me. Yeah, so they're done. There might be some tweaks made after final pass, but it's essentially done. It's going to come out in January of 2018. I think we're pretty cut and dry on that date, on that month.
Mm-hmm.
And the third book is I handwrite books to start out with, so my third book is in here right now.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the fact that you handwrite that. I mean, I love handwriting, so I think that I understand why typing is easier. I understand that. Do you eventually get to, like, do you then type it, or you have to?
Especially when typing, it becomes like, and see, it's better than Nightingale. I probably 1/3 handwrote and 2/3 typed straight.
Mm-hmm.
And then Girl on the Tower, I probably half and half.
What's the second book name? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, sorry, it's called The Girl in the Tower.
Oh.
And the third book, I like writing. It helps you concentrate.
Yes.
And it gives you kind of this space for imagination, and there's no Twitter also.
That's right.
Twitter can be very distracting.
That's right. That's right. The last author I talked to, he said he goes to a place that has no Wi-Fi, like a restaurant or something that has no Wi-Fi, which is hard to find now. But because he doesn't want to be distracted in any way.
Yeah,
so.
A lot of folks resort to that. I mean, I just turn my computer, my phone off, and break out my notebook. And I have 100% handwritten this third book on paper, and I'm really enjoying the process. It's very, it's very peaceful in a way that writing on a computer is not.
Right.
And I like it, so.
Well, I'm really happy that this is a series. I was hoping it was going to be, as a reader, but I kind of, sometimes your I don't know, do your fans come after you and say, please make a sequel to this, or,
There's been a lot of questions about it. I mean, I always planned to. Like, that's the reason I had some characters that kind of came in strong in the early parts of Bear and the Nightingale, and they disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had readers be like, but that's not fair. Like, you took them away. And I'm like, well, I did that because I wanted them for another novel afterwards.
Right.
Which is what happens. And I always planned 3 books. It's like a natural kind of endpoint to the series that I was always aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I wasn't always sure how to get there.
Right. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you planning on coming back to the States, or are you planning on staying there?
No, I'm coming back. I'll be in France for another couple weeks, and then going to London to do a little bit of book signing, and then Sweden to do a little more book signing and see some friends, and then back to the States. I've got a few book-related things there. Also, summer in Vermont's fantastic.
Right. Well, please let us know when you're going to be, your book schedule or whatever, and I will put it out there on, my social media, because if you're anywhere close, I'm going to come get my book signed. So
most definitely.
If you come anywhere, like, if you go to like New York City, like I can make it to New York City.
The odds of my being in New York City are fairly decent. I did New York and Boston this last round of book when I first published Bear and the Nightingale.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, this came out. Did this come out in January? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, January 10th, I think.
Yeah. So I guess that does make sense for the for you to hit the next book, to hit
I think we're hoping for like year-wide intervals, like early January for each book in the series. It seems.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Well, anybody who wants to read a fairy tale and a just magical story, this is a great book. Please go get it. And I'm going to put it up on my Facebook page for everybody to get to. It's beautiful. Buy the hardback if you can. It's worth it.
I definitely do.
Yes.
Although for those who are dead against hardbacks, the paperback will be out in July.
Okay. If you have to buy a paperback and you don't enjoy this hardback. But I tell you what, I do enjoy audiobooks. So, and I'm sure that this audiobook would be amazing because of the names. Like, I really think that I could enjoy that. When I'm traveling around, I will listen to an audiobook. I'm one of those weird people where I'll listen to the audiobook, but I still buy the book. It doesn't
the narrator's fantastic. Like, she has a fantastic job.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's
really
amazing that what the readers, the people that do the audiobooks, like, if you love their voice, it just it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, you just want to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they're so good at it. It really is an acting job because they're so good at going from character to character, and you can kind of get a sense because, it's really a difficult craft. So I do appreciate that,
Really.
So anyway, well, thank you, Katherine. Thanks for coming on. And I look forward to reading the next one, and we can chat again. And
you will enjoy the next one.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Thank you. Bye.